And welcome everybody to another Intent Company Live. It is Tuesday, February 20th, and we are on number, what are we on, 27? 27. Yes. Pretty sure, 27. Back in the studio. Yeah. I hope you guys didn't mind the field trip yesterday. I literally took a trip to the field, the soccer field. Got a chance to watch my son do the soccer thing, which was awesome. So got to go live on my phone. It's pretty cool. We do Streamlabs, just so you'll know. Streamlabs is amazing. It's a great tool for broadcasting. They got a great app, and it worked pretty good under the circumstances. So thanks, guys, for going out there with me. So today we are going to go, actually, it was the conversation yesterday. I was talking a lot about like how different businesses give you more or less flexibility, or maybe like match your lifestyle a little bit more. And it got me kind of thinking a little bit about, what are those kind of considerations that you take when you're deciding to create your business, or even I'll say this. So the name of this is Considerations When Starting a Business. But I'd also say, even if you currently have a business, these considerations are really important, because you might think about how are you pivoting, adjusting, changing your business. There's definitely going to be a time in your business where you're like, do we want to keep going down this road, or should we make an adjustment? Is it a slight adjustment? Is it a major pivot? Even our business in the last 6 months has been going through a pretty substantial change, and transition is tough, and you got to make sure you're doing the decisions for the right reasons. You got to make sure you understand where you're going, and there's things you're going to learn as you're running your business that you're like, man, I want less of this in my life. I want more of that in my life, and how can you kind of navigate, move, steer what you're doing in the direction that is, going to serve the marketplace. It's going to create revenue. It's going to take care of your employees, but it also creates fulfillment and peace and prosperity for you. If you're gonna venture into this thing called entrepreneurship, you're gonna pay the price, take the risks that it takes to do this. You should be doing it with a desire of outcome, a good outcome. And that's another thing I talked about yesterday: dreaming, getting fired up again about what are we doing, why are we doing it, that kind of stuff. So that's what we're going to cover today. But before we dig in, you guys can help us out by getting the word out with our messages. So help us do the things.
Hey guys, welcome back. And make sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and make sure to hit that bell for notifications.
And there's that little soccer player right there, Braden, the little baller out there getting his practice in yesterday. So thank you, Bray. Yeah, help us, share, like, subscribe, do all that stuff. And especially help us out on YouTube. Get over to YouTube. If you watch on Facebook, different ones, click on the link, go to intentcompany.com live, go over, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We went from barely doing a lot of the social and all the stuff to now going 75 lives in a row to, kind of get the content going, get everything going. So we're going full steam ahead. Like I said, we're on number 27. So we're almost hitting the halfway mark, which is going to be pretty awesome. And you can catch us every Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. We're going to do a live. We're talking business. We're talking personal growth. We're talking family, talking faith. Basically, how can we help the entrepreneur thrive in their business, thrive in their personal life, thrive in fulfillment? It's something that's not talked about enough. And we do this. We talk about funnels and marketing and all that other stuff, but making all the money in the world and ruining your relationship with your family, or finding that, what you were doing didn't have meaning and purpose. And, we don't want that. We want the full thing. We want the results, the prosperity, the impact, the fulfillment, the flexibility, the life. If you're going to pay the price to be an entrepreneur, we want to see it thrive. And so that's what we're going to cover. Now, we have a couple cool things that you can take advantage of. So during these 75 lives, we have a few different things going on. The Focus and Fire workshop. This is an amazing workshop. Actually, just had somebody purchase the full package. So we're going to be doing an on-site Focus and Fire workshop, which is really cool. I love doing those because it's just every business I've ever done this with, they just have these aha moments. And what is it for? Understand unique value you provide to the world, understand the people who need it most, build your customer journey map, build a client dossier, all this different stuff. It's super cool. And, we do that, in person. We do that virtually one-on-one, but then we also built our online do-it-yourself version, which is what this version is. We've always sold it for $2,000, but during these 75 lives, you can get it for $200. And then we are going to take that $200 and we are going to give it to Feed the Hungry, great organization, feeding the less privileged in many, many countries. They do a great job. So help us out and help them out and help yourself out by getting this. Again, follow us on all the different socials. That's where you're watching us right now, but we're kind of everywhere. Go to Intent Company and you'll find us. You can also go to intentcompany.com. You'll have all the links. Plus, there's a couple links to my personal accounts. You can follow me personally over there. I also want you to take advantage of the customer journey assessment. And go over to the live page and you'll get a link to our customer journey assessment and get that all filled out and get basically your power ranking on how well your business is doing at delivering an amazing customer experience. Also invite you to join our Intent Company group. So this is our private community group. You can get it at the app or you can go to the web version, but look for Intent Company group in your favorite app store. And you can register. You get more free trainings, tools, templates, all kinds of workshops, but also basically a private social community. So cool way to connect. We've got different groups in there. We've got a group for business-focused men. We've got a Kingdom business group, company group, which is for Christian entrepreneurs and Christian business groups. So we've got a lot of cool stuff in there. Go check it out. And then lastly, our WOW campaign blueprint. So if you've got current customers and you want to learn how to maximize your relationship with the customers, then check out our WOW campaign blueprint. It is our kind of flagship tool, if you will, for what we do around here by turning customers into raving fans, and you can get access to that over there too. All right, those were our announcements for the day. Back to our main topic. What are we going to get into today? Considerations when starting a business. Okay, so this is going to be not really a in particular order type conversation. I just want to share some ideas with you. What are some things that you should be thinking about when you're starting this? Actually, the idea for this is I've got a business associate of mine, Mr. Jason Dominguez, who he said that he was inviting some people to watch this and they were thinking about starting a business, and that kind of triggered something in me. I'm like, you know what? I got a chance to have a cup of coffee with somebody and they're thinking about starting a business. What would be like my advice, or what would be the way that I would help coach or give that person some ideas when starting a business? Like, what would be the things to think about, right? And so these are just in no particular order, some considerations, things that you need to be thinking about before you start your business, right? So I'll recap yesterday. So if you watched yesterday's, I think that's the number one consideration is what kind of life are you trying to create, right? You got to think, business, you're going to spend 50, 60 hours a week. I don't care what the gurus say online. I don't care what, the automated that system and everything is. Business is hard. Okay. Business is hard. And especially when you get it going, you got to apply effort. You got to make it happen. Okay. So if you're going to spend all this time putting in the effort, making it happen, trying to, create something amazing, there's a few things that I think are really important. There's quite a few influencers right now, very big names. I won't mention them, but they're kind of almost mocking the idea of passion businesses. They're kind of mocking the idea that, your business should be something that you're passionate about, because they're like, whatever you're making money at, you'll get passionate about, or whatever you invest all this time, you'll get passionate about. And usually these kind of guys that talk like this, they talk about niches and we'll figure out your niche and who you're going to go after, and then what are you going to do, what problem you're going to solve. And it is important to understand who's your core audience, who you're talking to. It's important to understand the problem you're solving. But I think the heart of it, if you're basically only looking at market groups of people and what you want to provide as a way of what opportunity is there to extract money out of that network, I don't think you're going to be successful. Or even if you are successful, I think it's going to be icky kind of success. Okay, let me explain. Okay. I do believe the core of all business should be to serve people and solve problems. So that is understand the people that you're meant to serve, understand the problems that you're meant to solve. But I also think it should be wrapped in this passion, that you have a passion and a compassion for the people that you're serving. So you have a compassion for the people you're serving, and you have a passion for the problem that you solve. So actually, I never said it like that before. That's good. That should be a graphic, Chels. All right. So a compassion for the people, a passion for the problem that you solve. Okay. Because a lot of times in these niche business type things, it's more like what people group have not been exploited enough. Like what market group is not getting sold enough that you can have this unique thing and you can take money from them. And it becomes a very, I don't want to say manipulative, but you're basically figuring like, who can I exploit? Like, who has money that I can take from them? Who has things that I can come in? And if you don't care about the people that you're serving and you're not even passionate about the problem you're solving, then what drives you? Because again, business is hard and you're going to have to put in the effort. 50, 60 plus hours a week consistently. You're going to have to deal with massive adversity. You're going to have to deal with crazy uncertainty. And it doesn't stop. I used to think like, oh, once I make a certain threshold of revenue, all my problems will be solved. And it's like, no, a lot of times it gets more intense. You start hiring more people, or you have more clients to manage and maintain, and more stuff. And actually, it as you grow, it turns up the intensity. It turns up the risk, right? Like, it's one thing if you're a little solopreneur just kind of messing around working part-time, you lose that business. What happens? What's the impact? You get yourself 10, 15 employees. What happens then? You got 1,000 clients that expect you to deliver and do this. So it gets more intense. It gets more risky. There's more to lose. There's more pressure. And so I believe the motivation that we have to go and do it, if it's purely financial. So if you really do not care about the people group you serve, and you do not care about the problem that you're solving, and it's purely financially driven, then you're either, one, it's not going to be enough motivation to stick through the difficulty. For most people, the financial gain is not a big enough reason. No matter how much you want money and how you want things, most people are not going to be that financially driven to push through the curve to make it happen. They'll give up. And maybe you've done that before. Maybe you've started a business, because, the new doohickey and the Amazon thing, and if we got the white paper with the thingy and the stuff, and you didn't care. You didn't care about the product. You didn't care about the people. You just seemed like you bought a course or you saw a thing, and did you have the drive? Did you have the power to go do it? Probably not. Now, here's the other truth, which a lot of people don't talk about. It's really true, but like, if you are purely motivated by finances and that is enough to go through, I actually think you have a fairly shallow life. I think I think for most people, and again, I would say now the kind of pastor in me is kind of popping up. I would say even for these huge social influencers and all these people have mega money, mega influence, everything. I'm speaking purely from a spiritual standpoint. If the finances are enough, like if the money that you make is really it's real, because really what it is, it's your identity. It's my value as a human being is based on my bank account. My value as a human, the amount of money I get to tell people I make online, the way I get to show myself financially. Listen, I want money. I want good things. I want a lot of it, but it doesn't define me. And I believe you're in a really unhealthy place if your bank account defines your value as a human being. I think that's a dangerous place to be. One, because money comes and goes. One, there'll always be more people. There'll always be people who have more money than you. But two, if that is the driving force, at some point you're going to be faced with opportunities to do things that you probably wouldn't do morally for money. Because if money is your God, right? The Bible says you can't serve two masters. You either worship God or you worship money. Money is a great servant. Money is a great tool. Money is a terrible God, a terrible master. And if money is your God, then you're going to do everything for that. And you know what's going to happen is people, relationships, ethics, morality, things like that are actually going to come secondary to getting money. Like, you think about it. Like, you think of some of the organizations like Enron and some of these. What was the dude, Sam, whatever, the crypto guy that just totally collapsed, all that stuff. Like, he probably didn't wake up one day and be like, oh, I'm going to embezzle all this money. I'm going to do this huge Ponzi scheme. I'm going to do all this. It's like, what happened? They valued the money and what the money gave and the fame more than their own morality, ethics, personal things, and it got them. It ate them up, and we see it. So that is a real risk. And for me, I think one of the ways that you can make sure that kind of dynamic doesn't eat you up, doesn't get you, that the worship of money, that possessions and things define you as a person. Again, I'm not saying don't have nice things. I have nice things. I have a nice house. I have nice stuff, but it doesn't define me. If it all went away, it wouldn't change who I am. I've still got my beautiful wife. I've got my amazing kids. I got great relationships, friends. And even more important than that, I am loved by God of the universe. I'm saved. I'm free. I'm good. And then being good, I want to go do some other cool stuff. Like I want to build a crazy cool business. I want to see awesome things. I want to get tons of revenue and income, and I want to do it. But it doesn't define me. So I think the number one way that you can keep your heart right in that dynamic, I wasn't even going to go down this path, so I don't know, this might be for somebody. But the number one way you can keep your heart right in this dynamic, I think, is to be intentional about the compassion that I have for a people group, the passion that I have for the problem I solve. Because if that's part of the mechanism where you're just like, you know what, I love that group of people. For me, I love entrepreneurs. I know how hard it is. I've buried so many businesses. I've been in the fetal position on the floor of my office in tears because I couldn't pay rent. That has happened to me in my past. I have been there. I know how hard it is, the risk and I have a compassion for that people and the risk that they take to go create a better life for their family, for the world and all that. I have a great compassion for those people. And the passion that I have is in marketing and strategy and growth, and I get fired up about that stuff. If like we're at a party, you know, we're hanging out with people, I start chit-chatting with somebody, as soon as somebody even just mentions a business idea, this and that, I get all fired up and I'm giving ideas and this and that, and it naturally flows. So I'm driven not just by the economics, I'm driven by the purpose. I'm driven by the impact. I'm driven by the fulfillment that it brings. And you know what? That oftentimes is what you need more to push through the difficulty, to push through the hard times. Because you got to think about it, you need the drive. You need the inner drive. You can't be motivated by external sources. You got to be internally driven. So think about that. If drive, like the push that you apply towards something, you got to realize it's the push that's required to see breakthrough. Think about the word breakthrough. I like using the example of a piece of plywood. If you thought about it, if you had like a 4x8 sheet of plywood and it's held steady on each side, the more that you push against that plywood, what does the plywood do? It actually pushes back, right? There's more tension in the bow. The more it bends, more tension, more tension. So it actually pushes back at you harder and harder and harder and harder. And that's what it can seem like in a business. When you're starting a business or trying to grow a business, the more you push, the more it seems to push back at you. The more resistance that you get, the more difficult it is. And then at some point, your drive, your push breaks through. The plywood snaps, busts open by your push, your effort, your into it snaps the resistance. That's breakthrough. So again, I believe for most healthy people, pure financial gain isn't going to give you enough inner drive to break through. And if I offend you by that comment and you're like, no, I'm completely money driven, that's the only reason I do everything and that's this and that, I pray for you. There's more to life. There's more to life. That's the stuff. I forgot the book. There was a book where like all these like super rich people got interviewed like at the end of their lives and they talked about like the regrets that they had. I don't know if it was a book or a story or something like that. But like, you know, not one person ever said, man, I wish I made more money. I wish I worked harder. I wish I spent more time in the office. I wish I acquired more possessions. It was always like, I wish I, you know, hung out with people more. I wish I had more impact, influence, served more. And that's the cool part about a business. If business designed well can be a vehicle of service, like you're literally you're a servant. You know, the types of businesses that we work with, I mean, they invest a good amount of money. They're spending a decent chunk of change to work with us. But they actually look at us like we're serving them. Because if I can turn what they give me into 5x, 10x more, they love it. It's great. We take the burden off of them. We own certain aspects. We give exponential return. And that's the win-win. So yes, there's an economic component, but for us too, like we're very specific with who we work with. Purpose-driven companies. I like to work with founders because they're the most passionate about what they're doing. So that was a very long first thing I wanted to share about the considerations. And I think it's actually the most important. I think it's the most important. You're going to get that dialed in first. Again, compassion you have for people, the passion that you have for what you do. So with that, write out a list. Write out a list. What are the people groups or the people that you, and you might know, you'd be like, man, I really have a compassion for these people or this kind of situation or these problems. And then just start to write out, like, what are all the different ways that could serve that group? What are all the different ways that I could, like, invent something, create something, serve, come alongside, build a technology, right? Because that's the thing is we get all hung up in the, I'm going to build an app or a service business or this and or that. And yeah, there's pluses and minuses. We'll talk about those in just a second. But it's really like what problem you're solving. What problem does that app actually solve? Because people buy solutions, not gizmos, not services. Nobody needs another monthly subscription. Nobody needs that stuff. They need solutions. If you think about it in essence, all a business is solving problems. That's what a business should do. Business should solve problems, right? And then, so if the more problems that you solve, the more money you make. The bigger problems that you solve, the more money you make. All right? Like if you're a brain surgeon who has this super specific way of doing this particular thing, those are big problems. People that come to you have big problems, like their life. So you get paid big money to solve that problem. You don't have to solve too many problems. You could solve a handful of them and do very well. But if you solve small problems like entertainment type things or food and beverage, right? Like if you try to solve my coffee problem, well, I have that problem like 3 times a day. I need 3 cups of coffee a day. I need this, I need that. My wife tells me I need to go down 2 cups, 1 cup. But you think if you solve a small problem like a cup of coffee, you've got to solve that problem many, 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 many times in a day in order to be successful because it's a small problem. So there's small return. So again, it's basically who am I serving? What are the problems they have? What of those problems am I best, geared to solve? And then you want to think about then the mechanism. What is the mechanism that I'm going to solve this problem in? And I just mentioned some of those, right? And so actually I put down a little list of like different business types. Right? So you've got different problems like, let's say selling products, right? Some people have a problem that they don't have the right doohickey, right? They don't have the right device. They don't have the right product for the problem, right? So you can solve that problem. So you can sell products. But there's even many ways that you can sell products. You could sell someone else's product. You could invent a product. 2 totally different things. And then you got to think about it too. Again, the return that you get is based on the problem that you solve. So here's the thing. If you sell somebody else's product, there is 100,000 whatever other people already solving that problem. Think about it, right? Like you're selling someone else's product. Well, that product is found everywhere. So you're literally solving the problem, but you're one of many people that are solving the problem. So you're not the solution you have is not that valuable because that solution is found everywhere. So yeah, you could like drop ship somebody else's product. You could have a retail store, but you've got to now fight for the way, like you think about it like a retail situation. We got Walmart, you got Target, and that's brick and mortar. There's also online retail. So the thing is people know what they want. All right, they already know that they want, again, I'm just using this, they know they want the pen. They know they want it. Now, what you're solving for them is how easy it is for them to get it. Right? So Walmart, Target, why do they do really well? Because you can go to one place and you can solve a bunch of problems in one fell swoop. I can get the pen, I can get the toilet paper, I can get the shampoo, now you even see with all the Targets and Walmart, they all have grocery stores in it. Why? Because it's more problems. So they're solving more problems. They're doing it in one place. So people come there because they're like, hey, you know what? I can solve all these problems in one place. And so they get all the business. Now, what did they have to do? They had to have the capital to get a building the size they did. They had to have the capital to put the building in a place that's easy to get to, and a lot of traffic comes through. And so there's tons of front-end capital, tons of money they have to invest to solve the problem really easy, and then they're expecting all of this mass sales problem solving to happen down the road that then creates the profit and so on, and they expand. So obviously that's one other thing to think about is the competition. Like if you're going to do a brick and mortar, so that means you have a building and you're going to sell products out of that building. Think about who you got: Walmart, you got Target, you got all these different places you're competing with. It's going to be really hard to compete in that area. But then you can say, oh, well, I'll sell online. I'll sell that pen online. Okay. Now you get to compete with Amazon. And what does Amazon do? What problem do they solve? Again, it's the same products. They could go to Walmart to get that product, go to Target, then go to a million different places to get that product. So what product are they actually solving? What product is Amazon actually solving? Cost and time. Cost, time, convenience. That's the thing you think about it. They're not really selling products. Because again, Walmart selling products, Target selling products. What are they actually selling? They're selling, I can buy whatever I want sitting on my couch in my pajamas. Convenience. They're also the cheapest solution, right? Most of the products on Amazon are super cheap. So now their cost. And then it's the time aspect. I don't need to go anywhere. I can do it right here. So that's really the value proposition of what they're selling. So that'd be like, man, that's a really hard thing. I probably shouldn't sell pens. There's too much competition. Yeah. But what about this? What if you invented a pen that did something? This is actually a stylus for my digital whiteboard. What if you invented a new way, a new ink, a new this, a new feel, a new whatever, and you created, now you're solving a similar problem with a pen, but maybe you found out that, you know what, the thickness of this pen needs to be a different thing, or the ink or the whatever. And again, I'm just using a random analogy. And you think, oh, selling pens, solving that problem. Yeah, but you could be solving a problem in a brand new way. Actually, I don't have the pen right here. We found a new pen. Actually, it was on Amazon. But well, that analogy's gone now. But the pen has like this certain grip and like the I don't know. It's just amazing. I love it. And so like I've gone, oh, thanks, Jeej. And I love it. And the pen is so sweet. I actually bought like boxes of them and I passed them out to all my team for Christmas and this and that. And they're great pens. You got the pen, don't you? Yeah, Chelsea's got the pen. Thanks, Chelsea. I'm telling you, I did find it on Amazon, which I don't know. I know I should support local businesses, but again, local businesses don't sell pens. I forgot the name of the brand. I'll post it something, but simple pen, but just the way that the clip works, the way it writes, everything, super awesome. And it's new. It's different than most pens. I'm going to buy these constantly. So this company that made this, they sell pens, but they did it in a completely different model, right? They weren't selling other people's pens. They created their own. They did it in a way that was attractive and new, and even the aesthetics, like it looks cool. Clips on my moleskin, it looks all nice, right? So they found out a way to solve another problem, and now they actually have Walmart and Target and Amazon, all those people selling that product. And so that's just like an analogy to talk about how, like, yeah, people might need pens, but you can solve that problem in many different ways. So you got to think about, what is the way that you're going to solve the problem that's going to be most advantageous to you? It's going to match your thing, right? Certain problems you can solve, but you need tons of upfront capital. Do you have a lot of liquid capital? Do you have access to a ton of money up front that you can invest? And if you do, if you got capital and you don't have much creativity, that's where the franchise world comes in. Right? You got other businesses that are doing really well. They've proved their case in different markets. They got the standard operating procedures down. They got all this stuff. What do? You invest capital, a little effort. You get to maximize a vetted idea that already works. And that's why franchises work so well. You know, and there's these trends that pop up. Right? Remember a few years ago, the big push, maybe it's a lot of years ago, but the like kind of steak and shake kind of ideas, right? You get like the burger and shake in one place, and there's all, you know, there's like Freddy's, and I think one's called Steak and Shake. I don't know. It was like 4 or 5 of them that popped up all at once. They all turned franchise. It was hot. People liked them. And when we're on the market, you got capital, you could get that business, leverage that. But what do you do if you don't have the capital? Obviously, that whole market segment, that's not going to work. So you got to figure out, okay, if I don't have the finances to do that, I've got to create the system, a new product, a new idea that I got to bring to market. And that's why I would say the number one, I don't know if it's number one, but a very popular way to get into entrepreneurship that is low cost, easy to start off on is services, a service-based business. And that's where most businesses, I think, really do start. So services, what do you mean? I do a service for someone. And most of the time, this is where, again, I talk, this happens all the time, where somebody comes to me and they're like, I've been a plumber for 20 years and I've been working for so-and-so and I know everything there is to know about plumbing and I'm making somebody else rich and I just make this amount of money. I want to go start my own plumbing business. Well, okay, that's cool. So if that scenario, again, it could be plumbing, it could be website design, it could be photography, it could be cutting hair, it could be doing nails, it could be any kind of service where you serve someone, right? The three main service businesses are professional services. So that means the service that you do is for a business. That's what we are, marketing agency, right? We serve other people, help them grow their business. Then there's personal services. So that's you do services for people. You cut someone's hair, you do their nails, you do stuff like that. I'm serving the person. And then there's home services. I serve the home. Landscaping, roofing, construction, HVAC, things like that. I serve the home, right? So those businesses tend to be pretty easy to start because really it's like a limited tool set and you need to be you need to have a high aptitude to do it, right? So you don't need to buy a 150,000 square foot building to do home services or to be a service business. You can do it out of your home. You can drive to people's locations. You can set up things. It's easy to get going. And again, most people who start those, and that's how I started it. Well, actually, I guess I started my business first and then got employed and then started my business again. But you've got some level of expertise. You've done this before. You've done it. You get good at it. You get good getting somebody else rich, if you will. And then you decide, oh yeah, I'm going to go do this on my own. So that idea is good. It's a good way to start. Good way to start for a couple different reasons. One, you could start part-time, right? You can pick up a couple side clients, right? You can do a little bit of work on a Saturday. You can do a little bit of work after work. You can apply a little bit more effort and you can get into the routine of providing your service for finances outside of your regular job. So that's a nice thing because you can do that to kind of get going. One thing for anyone who's doing a business like that, this is what I learned, and I did a whole session on like the 7 things I wish I knew before I started my business. And one of those was that success in business is actually less about the excellence of the work that you do, and it's more about being good at business skills. Doing the doohickey, right? Whatever it is, doing the thing, making the website, cutting the hair, doing the stuff. That'll get you a little bit, like sure, you can do a couple side clients and get away with it. But as soon as you start to try to create a legitimate business, you're going to realize like, wait a minute, how do I get a new customer? How do I get somebody to pay me? How do I create margin? When do I hire people? When do I pay? Like all of a sudden, business success is way more predicated on all this other stuff that actually isn't even anything to do with your business, like what you deliver. And when you grow, the more you grow in an organization, the less you actually do the thing that you started off doing. Like there was stuff that I did, when I was employed, or things that when I first started my business that I just don't even touch. I don't even know how to do it anymore. I forgot. And that's what you're supposed to do. But then you have to learn a whole other set of skills. You got to learn finance. You got to learn sales, people skills, client management, team management, personnel skills, all this different stuff. So that's a super consideration. So I will say another consideration to put in there is the fact that in order for you to be successful at business, you need business skills. And the only way you get a skill or only way you get experience is either paid experience meaning you go through the pain of yourself and figuring it out, or you learn from others. So I'm not go and do it, but also figure out how to learn from others as much as possible. So read books about business skills, salesmanship, finance, things like that. Like get better, get a mentor, talk to people, share what you're thinking about, get around people that are out in front of you. And actually, here's a little side for mentorship. If you want to get a mentor, you want to get somebody to help you, like what's that worth? That is so valuable. You got to think somebody who's maybe owned a business for 20 years, they've learned all this experience, and they can sit down with you and they can share, some ideas. It's super valuable. So you got to understand how valuable that is and to be intentional about it. But one thing I would recommend is if you're going to go get a mentor, be serious about it. And what do I mean by that? Most people who are successful would love to give their time to someone else and kind of like, kind of freely I receive, freely give kind of idea to people. But I can't tell you, I've had people that have asked for advice, mentorship, and then they like show up late to the meeting. They don't show up. Maybe we get a cup of coffee, they don't show up. Not that I mind, but I remember when I would go ask somebody to be, to mentor me, even when I didn't have much money or anything, I made sure I bought their coffee, I bought their food, right? Like they're doing me a favor. They're giving me advice that's so valuable. And then you're just going to show up and be like, oh, they got a business, they can buy my coffee. Like, what kind of entitled nonsense is that? Like, I've had people that I've done free work for to just be around them. Be like, hey, I'll do free work for you. I'll give this for free. I just want to get around you. I just want to hear your thoughts. Like so into your success. So get around people that are doing it, be willing to invest in that growth. And then again, the other side of it is then, learn by taking courses, reading books. I mean, YouTube. Are you kidding me? Like YouTube University. You can learn so much and get so much good information. Are you investing in that? Or are you, watching random nonsense videos? Like, what are you investing in? Is Netflix going to help you learn that? Anyway, that's a whole nother thing. Invest. Okay. So I have gone deep on like just a random couple points. So I think I was talking about different types of businesses. Yeah. Service-based businesses, online businesses, right? Online businesses are great because the cost to get involved is relatively low, right? You can get into a business with a website, YouTube page, a checkout page. Doesn't cost a lot. It's not like, starting a restaurant, right? So you can get in there, but then the problem is you're in the World Wide Web. You're in this gigantic world and nobody knows who you are. So if you have a business like that, usually if it's easier to set up, most of your effort and time is getting new customers. Because if it's easy, everybody would do it. If it's easy, everybody does do it. It's easy to have an online business. So there's a lot of online businesses. So your competition, you have it's so massive. So then the real challenge that you have is, how do I get seen? How do people know me? How do people do this? And so there's a lot of effort in getting the attention. Where let's say a restaurant I just mentioned. You get a restaurant, there's a lot of upfront capital. You got to hire a bunch of employees. You got to buy a bunch of supplies. You got to buy all the food. There's a ton of money upfront that it takes to get going. But, depending on your location, there you are. There's your restaurant. People drive by all the time. Like, oh, there's a new restaurant next to so-and-so. Let's go check it out. So it's more capital, more upfront. But then not to say that it's just super easy to get people, but there's more visibility. There's also way less restaurants in your town than there are online businesses in the whole world. So yeah, your upfront cost makes you more available, but you've got the risk of more upfront stuff. So it's just different challenges. And so you got to figure out, this is another thing, this is just another side about entrepreneurship. You got to figure out how risk adverse you are. As a major consideration. Different businesses and different decisions require different levels of risk. And I will tell you this, the opportunity is found in direct proportion to the amount of risk that you're willing to take. High risk, higher opportunity. So you got to make sure you understand where your risk level is, because there's many people that have started a business and underestimated the amount of risk, underestimated the amount of stress, underestimated, and got over their head real quick. You've seen that, like with restaurant business. You see it in the restaurant business a lot, where restaurant pops open, it's open for a couple months, and then it's just like gone, ghost town, signs gone, whatever. It's like, what happened? The dude lost his mind, could not handle the stress, freaked out, bailed. There's many stories that are even worse than that. I haven't kept track of it lately, but I remember about 5-10 years ago, there was like a lot of tech startup entrepreneurs, CEOs that were killing themselves. Why? One, their identity was in their success. Especially Silicon Valley, like remember 15 years ago I was there, like everyone's a tech startup, right? Like you go to LA to be a celebrity, you go to Silicon Valley to have a tech startup. So all of your identity, you let everyone know you're starting a business, you're the CEO of this great tech startup, and then you go and you get investors, people give you $300 million, you go hire 50 employees. I mean, you're like, you think about it, the risk. And then it doesn't pan out. And people think like, wow, I got to lay off 50 people, or I just lost $300 million to these investors. And the pressure, the intensity, and if your value as a human being was found in all of that, people do crazy things. There's a lot of addiction. There's a lot of indulgence in drugs, alcohol, pornography, all kinds of different stuff, because the amount of risk is so intense that people want to go and numb themselves. That's another caveat. Make sure that you're internally strong enough to do the thing that you're doing. And I guess that's the same idea as risk adverse. Be a healthy person. Find healthy outlets for stress. Think about it. I mean, you can just say, hey, man, I got a massive amount of stress. You know what? I'm going to go work out. I'm going to go for a prayer walk. If that's your strategy versus I'm going to go have a beer, those decisions, think about it. Stress hits me. I'm freaked out. So I'm either going to go work out and, pray, versus I'm going to go get high. I'm going to go drink. I'm going to go do this. Take that road long enough, and where are you going to end up? May seem meaningless at first, but you walk down that road long enough and you're going to end up in a place that you desperately don't want to be, because the way that you manage stress. So understand how risk adverse you are, understand stress management, understand what ways that you can step into things. This is the stuff that people don't talk about. You go do a search right now for how to start a business. It's going to be, do you do S Corp and LLC and this and that? And those things are super important. And I will say that's one piece is, one thing to help with stress and all the other things is get a team of people. And I'll get back to that in a second. But nobody's going to talk to you about like the inner man stuff. Where's your heart at? What's your passion? What are you pursuing? What's fulfillment look like? What risks are you willing to take? What price are you willing to pay? Those actually matter way more than like whether you're an LLC or an S Corp. And again, if you're focused on the compassion you have for people, the passion that you have for certain problems you're solving, it's going to be an internal fortitude to kind of press through that stuff. But be healthy. Seriously, if you're not a healthy person, like if you battle with addiction, you battle with like already poor stress management, this and that, like, and you think starting a business, you're just going to be like get rich quick scheme, make a bunch of money, It's not going to be like that. It can be amazing. I love entrepreneurship. But it's going to be a level of stress and pressure that you've never experienced before. And you can really do yourself well by making sure you're healthy. You've got a great support system. And even you're set up for success. I know that was one of the things I think I said in my 7 things I wish I knew before. If I was going to start if I give people advice or I was going to start my business again, I'd say get financially healthy. And I don't necessarily mean like, oh yeah, I got 200 grand, capital, this in the bank, but like be slim in your finances. It's less risk. Keep your cost of living down, no debt. Like get that stuff out of the way. So like the minimum kind of impact revenue that you need to move forward is relatively low. Like don't live in a super nice house. Like skimp down your house, your payments, your car, stuff like that. Keep it tight. And the main reason honestly is stress management. Right? It's not saying like, you could be like, I could make an extra 1,000. I can make extra 2,000 a month if I hustled, if I pushed this, that. But especially early on, it's just added stress. It's added pressure. It's added like, ugh. And, you don't need all of that extra stuff. Like just focus, get it done, start hammering, make it grow. Then you can expand into some of those things when it's right. So maybe I'll do a part 2 of this that's more like practical, the financing, this setup, the marketing, this and that. But I actually think just on a deep level, these are the kind of things that you got to figure out first before you start a business. Who are you serving? What problems are you solving? What capacity do you have for stress management? What kind of life do you want to live? Like I talked about that. What kind of lifestyle you want to have? And help that frame, like what even direction do you want to go down? Right? Do I want a business that I have to be tied to it, that I have to be there from 12, to 12 every day or whatever the hours are, this and that? Do I want to be able to be remote? Do I want a physical location? Like I decided I wanted flexibility, but I also want to serve my local market. Right? So that's something I've actually been thinking about lately. I never wanted to have an office before because I want to just have flexibility, go where I want, do what I want. But I've had a real passion for local businesses recently. And I was like, I want to have some representation. I want to have an office. I want to be able to do networking events, not so much just to grow the business, just to be a part of the local community. So things even change and evolve. So you got to think about what impact you want to make and then design a business, design your lifestyle in a way that makes that flow as easy as possible, and it's adding value, fulfillment, joy, passion. And then the last thing I'll mention before we hop here is be humble enough to get help, be humble enough to learn and grow, be humble enough to know when you're wrong, and just be flexible. Whatever idea that you come up with right now that you're going to start off with, you have this amazing business plan. How many times have you done that, right? You get an idea. What's the first thing you do? You go buy a domain. I know you do that. I have so many domains. And then, that's a terrible idea. You buy a domain. Oh yeah, you get a little business plan. Oh, I got a business. I'm ready to rock and roll. Whatever you start off with, you're gonna iterate many different times before you find your sweet spot. In fact, you're always going to iterate because the market changes, your skills change, the people change, the market changes, all the things change. So you're always going to be like kind of iterating. So stay humble enough, have perseverance to push through and break through. Like don't give up, don't switch too early. It's really a fine line. You don't want to give up and be like, oh, this is hard, I'm going to quit doing it, or I'm going to just do this now and do that. So you don't want that. You want to persevere to really figure it out, but you also need to stay humble enough to just like adjust, make those little tweaks, and then that's where it's going to get you to be, successful. But more than anything, start doing stuff, start learning, start growing, start engaging, start a little side business, do it. I love entrepreneurship. I love businesses. I love business people. And don't feel bad if you got to bury a business. I've buried many businesses, done a lot of business funerals, and it got me, I remember there was Robert Kiyosaki will say this, where he said some woman came up to him after a presentation. She was very upset at him. And she said, why do you tell people to start businesses? Don't you know that 9 out of 10 businesses will fail? And he said, you're right. That's accurate data. 10% of businesses will succeed and make it. And he goes, that's why I tell people, be prepared to start 10 businesses. Be prepared to start 10, because the one that makes it will be worth the 9 that you had to bury. So take some of these considerations to heart. Take risks. Make it happen. All the different stuff. And that's what we're committed to do. Help people like you go and start businesses, go to thrive, grow. Go to intentcompany.com/live. We got a bunch of free tools, resources, things like that. That'll help you. Join our Intent Company group. Get around other people. Let's connect. Let's talk. Get around other like-minded business people. So this is Billy Robbins. Hope you found this content valuable. We will be with you again tomorrow, 5 p.m. Central Time, for another Intent Company Live. Have an amazing night. Thank you, guys.